Madam Secretary, as Senator Murphy mentioned in his opening statement, Secretary Noem, under your leadership, we have seen you ignore our appropriation laws, our Constitution, common sense, and even basic humanity. And like a lot of Americans, I really have been horrified by the lawlessness and incompetence and cruelty that we have all witnessed. And for all the talk about going after criminals, you have sidetracked DHS staff who are investigating drug dealers, terrorists, human traffickers, and rather than photo ops, we need more of your focus on providing basic diligence, because your crackdown has roped in American citizens and people who are here legally with no criminal record. Now, I'm not going to ask you whether that was right or wrong. I know it's wrong. The world knows it's wrong. And I think the first thing the history is going to say about your leadership is that you were responsible for many of these travesties. So I'm deeply concerned. You've deported a 4-year-old U.S. citizen with cancer. You've disappeared people to a notorious prison in El Salvador. And you have spent $100 million in taxpayer dollars to air TV ads thanking President Trump. That is really reckless. It's unacceptable, and in my opinion, can't continue. The American people are paying for this with our taxpayer dollars and with their most basic rights. Now, in the last 3 months, you have frozen or canceled over $100 billion in funding that was approved by Congress, bipartisan. We are talking about everything from disaster relief to grants that keep people safe. But when my staff has requested information on the status of this unacceptable holdup, the department failed to provide any acceptable justification. This illegal freeze, and it is illegal, is taking a real toll on communities who are waiting on the investments that Congress has delivered. So will you commit to immediately unpausing these funds?
Well, Senator, thank you for covering a lot of topics there. Let me touch on a few of those right away.
Well,
what the Trump administration is doing is enforcing the law for the first time. Under the Biden administration,
I'm asking you about the funds.
Illegal aliens were prioritized over American citizens. Now the scales of justice have been leveled, and
Madam
no one
Chair,
is treated better than anyone else.
I asked you a
Citizens are
question.
treated the same,
Madam
and these
Secretary,
illegal aliens and criminals
answer.
are being
I heard
deported.
it previously. I'm asking you a specific
The grants
question.
that you are referencing,
Correct.
the grants that you are referencing have been paused and reevaluated to make sure that they are truly being spent in the way to which they were appropriated.
Well,
many of these grants were being diverted into things they were never intended.
These funds were passed on a bipartisan basis by members.
Absolutely, and the Biden
Congress.
administration perverted them in how they used them, diverted them to facilitate illegal immigration, to house people in places like the Roosevelt Hotel, who held illegal criminals that took the life
Madam
of
Chair,
Laken
about
Riley.
$100
all of us
billion.
have
It is not credible to me that all the
people who have
recipients
died
of
and
that.
lost their children because
Madam
of this
Secretary,
situation.
it is not credible. Madam Chair, it is not credible that $100 billion is used to break the law. That just cannot be true. And let me change this a little bit. On the other hand, I am very concerned that DHS is now dramatically overspending funding that Congress has not provided. If you were a CEO doing that, I don't think you'd be in your job long. We need accountability and we need answers, and that includes informative responses to oversight questions sent to the department over the last 3 months. I am ranking member on this committee. I have worked with every member of this committee. We take our responsibility serious to fund your department and others. We need to have answers. We need to have accountability, and we need to make sure you're not overspending money that you were not allocated.
Well, thank you for that question. I will be very
really
clear
a
in the
question,
fact.
it's a statement.
Do you want me to respond?
Well, you can.
Well, I've worked many jobs in my life, but I also have been a CEO. I've run
I'm not
businesses. I've been a
questioning your
governor.
credentials. I'm
and it
questioning
is
your spending.
We are prioritizing where our security needs are in this country, and we are hoping that this body will agree that reconciliation is necessary to address the things that have been neglected in this country for too long, that we have the technology upgrades, the manpower upgrades that are necessary. So the $170 billion request for the Department of Homeland Security is
Chair,
incredibly
my time is
important
running
to make
out,
sure we
and
have the
I do have a
tools that
couple
we
of
need.
additional questions. The fact is that you've not been given this funding. Saying that it's going to come in reconciliation that has not passed is not an acceptable answer. I did want to ask about FEMA and disaster relief. This is really important. A lot of disaster relief has been politicized. You've endorsed eliminating FEMA outright. We have seen an upheaval at FEMA that is going to put lives in jeopardy. 1 in 5 FEMA employees have been pushed out, taking this administration's so-called buyout offer. We are losing indispensable staff just weeks away from fire and hurricane season. And over $100 billion in disaster relief and FEMA grants are still being held up. DHS is making it a lot harder to qualify for relief, something people in my home state of Washington are experiencing firsthand. Multiple requests from governors have been rejected in recent weeks, including a request from our state. And we haven't been given any response about this. And I'm watching this and I'm thinking, has President Trump directed you to prioritize funding for Republican states?
Absolutely not.
Have you directed your staff to prioritize funding to Republican-led states over Democratic
Absolutely
states?
not.
Have your
Under
staff
this administration, there will not be any politicization of support, relief, FEMA assistance, or grants given based on politics.
Well,
every single person
there
will be
is a
treated the same.
clear
It will be very
trend,
different than the Biden
Madam
administration.
Secretary, there's a clear trend of Republican-led states getting very fast responses and funding. Democrat-led states are being forced to wait. We have never treated FEMA as a partisan issue in this country. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
What we just witnessed wasn't a hearing. It was a brutal reality check, the kind of moment that should shake every American to their core. Senator Patty Murray didn't walk into that room to make noise or score sound bites. She came armed with receipts, moral authority, and a message that cut through the spin like a knife. The Department of Homeland Security under Secretary Kristi Noem is failing the American people. And not just politically, not just legally, but in the most basic human way imaginable. This wasn't about a policy disagreement or a partisan clash. This was about a 4-year-old American child battling cancer, deported by his own government. Think about that. A sick child, a U.S. citizen, disappeared and sent to a foreign country. No due process, no compassion, no accountability. And when Senator Murray demanded answers, Kristi Noem had none. Not evidence, not justification, just recycled talking points about enforcing the law. As if the law somehow defends the erasure of a child's rights, dignity, and humanity. But Murray didn't stop there. She laid bare a department that isn't just detached from the law, it's defying it outright. Over $100 billion in disaster relief and security funding frozen with no legal authority. FEMA stripped of grants designed to keep communities safe, held hostage for politics, and all of it unfolding while the Trump administration funnels $100 million in taxpayer money into television ads thanking Donald Trump. Let's call this what it is. Not governance, not oversight, but a full-blown betrayal of public trust. It's deliberate, it's cruel, and it's personal. Personal for every family still waiting on aid that never arrived. Personal for every parent watching their child become collateral damage in a political stunt. Personal for every community bracing for hurricanes, floods, and wildfires after seeing FEMA gutted and abandoned. This isn't theoretical. It's real. And Senator Murray made it clear. This isn't about red states or blue states. It's about whether the federal government will show up when lives are on the line, or whether political loyalty now decides who gets help and who gets hurt. We cannot allow this to become normal. We cannot allow taxpayer dollars to bankroll cruelty, censorship, and propaganda while families beg for help. And we cannot stay silent while a 4-year-old with cancer is used as a pawn in a dystopian immigration stunt. This is the moment to pay attention. This is the moment to raise your voice. This is the moment to demand better for that child, for those families left behind, and for the soul of our democracy itself. So if you're as outraged as we are, don't scroll past this moment. Remember, a 4-year-old was deported. Disaster relief is being politicized. Billions in aid are being held hostage while people suffer. That's not leadership. That's cruelty with a budget. If you believe in truth, accountability, and basic human decency, hit subscribe right now. We break down these stories because someone has to. And if we don't demand better, no one will. Tap the bell so you never miss the stories they hope you don't see. And if you want to go deeper, support our work on Patreon. Every dollar helps us keep the spotlight burning on the people who think they can act in the dark. This is the liberal lens. We see through the spin so you don't have to. Until next time, stay informed, stay outraged, and stay loud.